1 Samuel chapter 28. Now at that time the Philistines assembled their bands and army to fight with Israel. Therefore Achish said to David, Be sure, thou shalt go out with me to the battle, thou and thy men. And David said to Achish, Surely thou shalt know what thy servant can do. And Achish said to David, Surely I will make thee keeper of mine head forever. Samuel was then dead, and all Israel had lamented him and buried him in Ramah, his own city. And Saul had put away the sorcerers and the soothsayers out of the land. Then the Philistines assembled themselves and came and pitched in Shunem. And Saul assembled all of Israel, and they pitched in Gilboa. And when Saul saw the host of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart was sore astonied. Therefore Saul asked counsel of the Lord, and the Lord answered him not, neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor yet by prophets. Then said Saul unto his servants, Seek me a woman that hath a familiar spirit, that I may go to her and ask of her. And his servants said to him, Behold, there is a woman at Endor that hath a familiar spirit. Then Saul changed himself and put on other raiment, and he went, and 2 men with him. And they came to the woman by night, and he said, I pray thee, conjecture unto me by the familiar spirit, and bring him up, whom I shall name unto thee. And the woman said unto him, Behold, thou knowest that Saul hath done, how he hath destroyed the sorcerers and the soothsayers out of the land. Wherefore then seekest thou to make me a snare, to cause me to die? And Saul swore to her by the Lord, saying, As the Lord liveth, no harm shall come to thee for this thing. Then said the woman, Whom shall I bring up? And he answered, Bring me up Samuel. And when the woman saw Samuel, she cried with a loud voice. And the woman spake to Saul, saying, Why hast thou deceived me? For thou art Saul. And the king said unto her, Be not afraid, for what sawest thou? And the woman said unto Saul, I saw gods ascending up out of the earth. And he said unto her, What fashion is he of? And she answered, An old man cometh up, wrapped in a mantle. And Saul knew that it was Samuel. And he inclined his face to the ground and bowed himself. And Samuel said to Saul, Why hast thou disquieted me to bring me up? And Saul answered, I am in great distress, for the Philistines make war against me, and God is departed from me, and answereth me no more, neither by prophets, neither by dreams. Therefore I have called thee, that thou mayest tell me what I shall do. Then said Samuel, Wherefore dost thou ask of me, seeing the Lord is gone from me, and is thine enemy? Even the Lord hath done to him as he spoke by mine hand. For the Lord will rent the kingdom out of thine hand, and give it to thy neighbor David, because thou obeyest not the voice of the Lord, nor executest his fierce wrath upon the Amalekites. Therefore hath the Lord done this unto thee this day. Moreover, the Lord will deliver Israel with thee into the hands of the Philistines. And tomorrow shalt thou and thy sons be with me, and the Lord shall give the host of Israel into the hands of the Philistines. Then Saul fell straightway all along on the earth, and was sore afraid because of the words of Samuel, so that there was no strength in him, for he had eaten no bread all the day, nor all the night. Then the woman came unto Saul, and saw that he was sore troubled, and said unto him, See, thine handmaid hath obeyed thy voice, and I have put my soul in mine hand, and have obeyed thy words which thou saidst unto me. Now therefore I pray thee, hearken also unto the voice of thine handmaid, and let me set a morsel of bread before thee, that thou mayest eat, and get thee strength, and go on thy journey. But he refused, and said, I will not eat. But his servants and the woman together compelled him, and he obeyed their voice. So he arose from the earth, and sat on the bed. Now the woman had a fat calf in the house, and she hasted and killed it, and took flour, and kneaded it, and bread of it, unleavened bread. Then she brought them before Saul, and before his servants. When they had eaten, they stood up, and went away, that same night. 1 Samuel chapter 29. So the Philistines were gathered together with all their armies in Aphek, and the Israelites pitched by the fountain, which is in Jezreel. And the princes of the Philistines went forth by hundreds and thousands, but David and his men came behind with Achish. Then said the princes of the Philistines, What do these Hebrews here? And Achish said unto the princes of the Philistines, Is this not David, the servant of Saul, the king of Israel, who hath been with me these days, or these years? And I have found nothing in him, since he dwelt with me unto this day. But the princes of the Philistines were wroth with him. And the princes of the Philistines said unto him, Send this fellow back, that he may go again to his place, which thou hast appointed him, and let him not go with us to battle, lest that in the battle he be an adversary to us. For wherewith should he obtain the favor of his master? Should it not be with the heads of these men? Is not this David, of whom they sang in dances, saying, Saul slew his 1,000, and David his 10,000? Then Achish called David, and said unto him, As the Lord liveth, thou hast been upright and good in my sight, when thou wentest out and in with me in the host. Neither have I found evil with thee, since thou camest to me unto this day. But the princes do not favor thee. Therefore now return and go in peace, that thou displeasest not the princes of the Philistines. And David said unto Achish, But what have I done? And what hast thou found in thy servant, as long as I have been with thee unto this day, that I may not go and fight against the enemies of my lord the king? Achish then answered and said to David, I know thou pleasest me as an angel of God, but the princes of the Philistines have said, Let him not go up with us to battle. Therefore now rise up early in the morning with thy master's servants that are come with thee, and when ye be up early, as soon as ye have light, depart. So David and his men rose up early to depart in the morning, and to return into the land of the Philistines. And the Philistines went up to Jezreel. 1 Samuel chapter 30. But when David and his men were come to Ziklag the third day, the Amalekites had invaded upon the south, even unto Ziklag, and had smitten Ziklag, and burnt it with fire, and had taken the women that were therein prisoners, both small and great, and slew not a man, but carried them away, and went their ways. So David and his men came to the city, and behold, it was burnt with fire, and their wives and their sons and their daughters were taken prisoners. Then David and the people that were with him lifted up their voices and wept, until they could weep no more. David's 2 wives were taken prisoners also, Ahinoam the Jezreelite, and Abigail the wife of Nabal the Carmelite. And David was in great sorrow, for the people intended to stone him, because the hearts of all the people were very vexed, every man for his sons and his daughters. But David comforted himself in the Lord his God. And David said to Abiathar the priest, Ahimelech's son, I pray thee, bring me the ephod. And Abiathar brought the ephod to David. Then David asked counsel of the Lord, saying, Shall I follow after this company? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him, Follow, for thou shalt surely overtake them, and recover all. So David and the 600 men that were with him went and came to the river Besor, where a part of them abode. But David and 400 men followed, for 200 abode behind, being too weary to go over the river Besor. And they found an Egyptian in the field, and brought him to David, and gave him bread, and he did eat, and they gave him water to drink. Also they gave him a few figs, and 2 clusters of raisins. And when he had eaten, the spirit came again to him, for he had eaten no bread nor drunk any water in 3 days and 3 nights. And David said unto him, To whom belongest thou, and whence art thou? And he said, I am a young man of Egypt, and a servant to an Amalekite, and my master left me 3 days ago, because I fell sick. We rove upon the south of Cherith, and upon the coast belonging to Judah, and upon the south of Caleb, and we burnt Ziklag with fire. And David said unto him, Canst thou bring me to this company? And he said, Swear unto me by God that thou wilt neither kill me nor deliver me into the hands of my master, and I will bring thee to this company. And when he had brought him thither, behold, they lay scattered abroad upon all the earth, eating and drinking and dancing, because of all the great prey that they had taken out of the land of the Philistines and out of the land of Judah. And David smote them from the twilight even to the evening, and on the next morrow, so that they escaped not a man of them, save 400 young men, which rode upon camels, and fled. And David recovered all that the Amalekites had taken. Also David rescued his 2 wives, and they lacked nothing, small or great, son or daughter, of the spoil of all that they had taken away. David recovered them all. David also took all the sheep and oxen, and they drove them before his cattle. And he said, This is David's prey. And David came to the 200 men that were too weary to follow David, whom they had made also to abide by the river Besor. And they came to meet David and to meet the people that were with him. So when David came near to the people, he saluted them. Then answered all the evil and wicked of the men that went with David, and said, Because they went not with us, therefore we will give them none of the prey that we have recovered, save to every man his wife and his children. Therefore let them carry them away and depart. Then said David, Ye shall not do so, my brethren. With that which the Lord has given us, he hath preserved us, and delivered the company that came against us into our hands. For who will obey you in this matter? But as his part is that goeth down to the battle, so shall his part be that tarrieth by the stuff. They shall part alike. For from that day forward he made a statute and a law in Israel unto this day. When David therefore came to Ziklag, he sent of the prey unto the elders of Judah and to his friends, saying, See, there is a blessing for you, of the spoil of the enemies of the Lord. He sent to them of Bethel, and to them of South Ramoth, and to them of Jatir, and to them of Aror, and to them of Siphmoth, and to them of Ashtemoa, and to them of Rechal, and to them of the cities of the Jerahmeelites, and to them of the cities of the Kenites, and to them of Hormah, and to them of Chorashan, and to them of Athah, and to them of Hebron, to all the places where David and his men had haunted. 1 Samuel chapter 31. Now the Philistines fought against Israel, and the men of Israel fled away from the Philistines, and they fell down wounded in Mount Gilboa. And the Philistines pressed sore upon Saul and his sons, and slew Jonathan, and Abinadab, and Melchishu, Saul's sons. And when the battle went sore against Saul, the archers and the bowmen hit him, and he was sore wounded of the archers. Then said Saul unto his armor-bearer, Draw out thy sword, and thrust me through therewith, lest the uncircumcised come and thrust me through, and mock me. But his armor-bearer would not, for he was sore afraid. Therefore Saul took a sword, and fell on it. And when his armor-bearer saw that Saul was dead, he fell likewise upon his own sword, and died with him. So Saul died, and his 3 sons, and his armor-bearer, and all his men that same day together. And when the men of Israel that were on the other side of the valley, and they of the other side, Jordan, saw that the men of Israel were put to flight, and that Saul and his sons were dead, then they left the cities and ran away, and the Philistines came and dwelt in them. And on the morrow, when the Philistines were come to spoil them that were slain, they found Saul and his 3 sons lying in Mount Gilboa. And they cut off his head, and stripped him out of his armor, and sent unto the land of the Philistines on every side, that they should publish it in the temple of their idols, and among the people. And they laid up his armor in the house of Ashtoreth, but they hanged up his body on the wall of Bethshan. And the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead heard what the Philistines had done to Saul. Then they arose, as many as were strong men, and went all night, and took the body of Saul, and the bodies of his sons from the wall of Bethshan, and came to Jabesh, and burnt them there, and took their bones, and buried them under a tree at Jabesh, and fasted 7 days.